And welcome back. 3 years of President William Ruto's and Kenya KWANZA administration taking scorecard of what has happened 3 years on. Let me just come back with you. Peter, you are submitting something?
I was saying, truth be told, that where we started and how we started, along the way, the rules of engagement changed. And they changed when we introduced, in quotes, experts from the other side of a political ideology. Because you remember, Azimio and Kenya Kwanza, the reason why they were competing, because they had different political ideologies. So when you bring two different political ideologies, there is a slowdown, because you needed time to learn one another, to compromise and say, this is the way we are going to approach things. For that reason, I would say so far, so good in terms of the considering the circumstances, considering the confusion. So far, so good. So far, so good. Yes.
Daniel, do you still hold the same idea? Because I still have so many questions when it comes to that. Because administration is administration. And how many people came into government from the other side of Azimio you're talking about, vis-a-vis the entire cabinet, that would cause that confusion that now you'd allege that is now causing the slowdown of development in the country? I'll come back to you. Just ponder about that, okay, but we'll come back to you. Yes, Daniel.
Yeah, I tend to disagree because it depends on how you look at governance.
Yes.
And it's unfortunate. This country, how we have looked at elections is that, and this is where I think President Ruto, I think, had got it right. I've always said that when you are elected president, at that moment, from that moment, you become the president of the whole country. So you have the responsibility, to govern, over all facets of the nation. And so also it gives you a free hand to appoint cabinet. The cabinet, you can appoint it from wherever, as long as the only qualification that you have is that someone has to be in the cabinet, is that they should be citizens of Kenya, and they should be qualified. And so when a president decides to appoint, and this is not the first president that has appointed members from the opposition, we have seen it, even the Kibaki administration, so when he decides to get experts, they're calling experts from whatever party, I think he has a free hand, and that also serves as, basically entrenches our belief that we are a constitutional democracy, that we believe that when time for politics is over, that we can move to governance. And you must also know that the president is also the symbol of national unity.
Yes.
And so at that time when he's been given that sword and is a head of state, from that point, he stops being the leader of the Kenya Kwanza, or his party, but becomes the leader of the nation. And that's one of the reasons why I supported this president when he was against, for example, the politicians who were talking about shares. They're saying shareholders that, this is our time to and the others should watch. And so I think the president did what I believe, and this is going to be one of his greatest legacies as he moves now to the next 2 years, that he has finally recognized that he's not just the president of his party or of his region, but he's the president of the whole country. And so that's why I disagree with him. And I believe that that these experts, whoever they are, they call him experts, I think, they can learn quickly.
Yes.
They can be inducted into the Kenya Kwanza plan, which I believe they have, and they can be able to work with the government to deliver on the promises.
Okay. Philomena, the Kenya Kwanza administration had plenty of plans. It's good enough that Peter is here, and during the formation of that government, you had town hall meetings across the country. You used to call it, there's another name. It was called not a town hall meetings.
Economic empowerment.
No.
Forums.
Forums, exactly. Yes. But then now, you took minutes and memoranda from each and every county and every region that you went to. Do you think the Kenya Kwanza has achieved so far, 3 years on, and you're saying that you still need more time? That's question number 2. Remember the other one?
Remind the other one?
Okay, I'll remind you. Let me come back to Philomena. Do you think Kenya Kwanza, based on, start with the housing, 250,000 housing project infrastructure, creating more jobs, the superhighway, about the digital superhighway, etc., human rights. Where have we made it in terms of, in a scale of 1 to 10, not even 100, scale of 1 to 10?
Maybe also to answer that and give my rate on that scorecard, there's something that my dad, Mr. Gatasha in Gatondo says. He says that history repeats itself, or rather history rhymes. If we go back, and I'm a student of history, if we go back in time, we'll be able to see times where we have had global economic repressions and issues surrounding civil unrest and all these other issues, including the seemingly issues when you see the government is slowly sliding into authoritarianism. The government has made its promises, and when I feel a bit disheartened, I always put when the clip where the president was inaugurated, and I listen to that speech, and I hear the vision that he had for the country, and I think he's a visionary leader. However, behind the systems that are supposed also, with him heading us, behind the systems that are supposed to push that vision, there are also human beings like me and you and any other person who can also compromise, or rather give, who have also their own personal shortcomings. In my opinion, given the circumstances and taking a look back at what has happened initially in the world, the government has tried and continues to try, and we have some issues that we can handpick, and we can actually say that this is a win for the government, much as there are some issues that have arisen in those projects. So for me, I would want us to either learn from history, because if we ignore history and what has happened in the past, we are likely to slide into authoritarianism.
Yes.
If we learn from it, then we are able to, the government is able to build trust, to come up with ways of enabling Kenyans and ensuring that they are able to feel the economic growth in a positive way. So for me, I would fairly give them 7 out of 10.
Let's talk about the human rights. Let's pick this and run with it for a moment. We've had cases of, for example, the Gen Z and all that, the cases of forced disappearances, extrajudicial killings and all that. The president during his time said that he was going to end that. For a couple of months now, that has reduced. But in the past, we saw that number going up. Until now, the LSK, you know, the legal fraternity actually were quite active defending people left, right, and center. I want you to take us through some of the issues when it comes to human rights. Have we hit the mark?
It's unfortunate that at this day and time, we have not hit the mark. It's very unfortunate that the sacredness of life seems to be taken for granted by the very institutions that need to uphold the need to protect the human life. I think we need serious and bold reforms that will be able to tackle the issue of police brutality and excess forces and the police abuse, because you know, once a life is lost, it's lost, and you can't reclaim it, you can't get it back. And once, when you look at those people at the hospitals and they're maimed, what will their lives amount to after that?
Yeah.
So I do not understand why at this day and age, when we have so much information and knowledge on human rights, people, and especially those that we trust with protecting the lives of the Kenyans, will take away lives. It is a spirited fight that we will continue to put up until we are able to protect the civil rights, we are able to protect the human rights, because we're in a space where the democracy is growing. And in that space, we expect that there's going to be quote-unquote insurgents. People are going to protest for their rights, and it's well within their rights. People are going to disagree, and that is the voice of dissent. So when, again, we go back to learning from history, if we are able to not slide into authoritarianism, then we are able to actually grow this, we are able to take advantage of this situation and grow our democracy, so that we are able to, again, even on issues of civic education, understand the best ways to put our voices in the resistance. And the government is able also to appreciate what the people are saying. Because at the end of the day, the reason today we are talking about a scorecard is because we gave them a job, and we are their employers, and they owe us the duty to come and tell us, you said you will do this, you haven't done it, why?
Why?
Yes.
Question is, Daniel, I know if you want to compare ourselves with other countries, we are far way better when it comes to human rights. But we can still also come back home and ask ourselves, yes, we have a very good constitution, but at some point tunakimbia outside the line, and the referee will call us back like, hey, you know, that's not the way to go. And yet we have it. But when you compare ourselves with other jurisdictions, we are far much ahead of the pack.
Absolutely. In Kenya, in terms of human rights, of course, we score better than many countries in the region, and of course, other countries worldwide. But we have to know that usually, you know, there are always attempts. You know, our civil liberties, our civil liberty is fragile, and you know, there must be vigilance, you know, from the citizens. You know, all the time, if we drop the vigilance, then governments, and not just this administration, we have seen that previous governments, we have personalities in the government that always attempt, you know, to abuse human rights, basically to try and safeguard, of course, their existence. Yeah, but one of the things that I must say is that we have a problem, of course, within the police system, and then we have seen that the way the police handled demonstrations was not very mature. And I am hoping that they keep on learning. And usually when I do this, I don't put this thing at the heart of the president, because the president is given a job. But even within the nation, the president is doing his job, but everyone has to do their job. You know, they have separation of powers, for example. The police must do their job. They must police with integrity. They must know that they are policing not for the state, but for the people. They have a role and responsibility to protect the people and the property of the Republic of Kenya. But usually, when we have some of the police, when they are there, they have this misguided belief that their job is to protect just the state, you know, and this is where I think they go wrong. And so I must appreciate the citizens. The citizens have been vigilant, and it's very, very sad that within these 3 years of this administration, of course, we had the Gen Z uprising last year, and we saw so many young people dying. And also, Victor, you must see also that it's not just a problem here. Like you said, you know, these are things that are happening everywhere. You saw what's going on in Nepal last night. You know, within a very short time, you know, the Prime Minister was, you know, resigned, and Parliament was, you know, usually as Global Peace Foundation, we do not encourage violence. We say that the citizens have a right to protest, but do it peacefully. We believe in non-violent means of getting things done, and these things have been done before. Martin Luther King, you know, we have seen, you know, even South Africa, India, you know. So I always believe that we can be able to protect human rights, you know, provide vigilance, you know, peacefully. And one thing I must also give to this administration is that they have been learning very well. when the Gen Zs went to the streets last year, the president gave in. You know, he stopped the finance bill. To his credit, he stopped the finance bill. Yeah. He fired the cabinet. He invited the Gen Zs to come to the table. By that time, the Gen Zs said, we are leaderless and so no one could come to the table. And then it gave, this leeway to these so-called experts to creep into administration. And so that is basically what happened. But I believe that in terms of human rights, of course, during the Uhuru administration, we had problem with the River Yala, people being found in River Yala. Of course, we have had problem with abductions after the Gen Z revolution, and the president said he would stop them. I've seen a decrease in that, and I'm hoping that that is not going to, we are actually going to, this is something we can never tolerate. The only freedom we have is, as a people, the freedom that they enjoy, even when they don't have jobs, is a freedom of expression, the freedom of conscience. So if you take away that, then you have taken away everything from Wanjiku.
Okay.
Yeah.
I want to take a break. And the most important thing, again, they want to talk about is education, because you've seen a lot of education sector players and so much more. Peter, don't worry, I'll come back to you. Education, which is very important.
You stay with me here.
Yeah. We are still here. And that's the point I want to...
When you come back, you stay with me here.
I will be here. And I also bring in Akelo Misori to help us talk about better to do the education as well. I'll talk about the scorecard of KWANZA administration. Please stay with us. Don't go away. Welcome back. The scorecard continues, and here we are just taking stock of what has been happening in the KWANZA administration 3 years on. Peter, before we continue, let's welcome Mwalimu Akelo Misori, who is the Secretary General of KUPPET. He's not a stranger in Jerusalem. Mwalimu, karibu.
Thank you so much.
Karibu sana. Asante sana. Yeah. Nairobi can be tricky. We understand.
That's true.
That's true.
Yes.
But we are here. We are here.
Yes.
Karibu sana. So before I come to you, let me talk to Peter. I ask you a question, whether we've hit the mark 3 years since, because you are fortunate enough that you are part of that team. Are you still part of that team? Just to clarify. Are you still part of the team?
I am part of that team 100%.
Okay.
Let me tell you, you've said Nairobi is tricky. It's not tricky. You know, I don't sit here and you tell the public that Nairobi is tricky when I work for Nairobi County, and there is order. And as a result of that order, I was here 10 minutes to time. Probably because Mwalimu here has so many responsibilities. While he wanted to be here on time, some of the members of his KUPPET association needed his attention. And as a result of that, he delayed, but not Nairobi being tricky. Now, yeah, Nairobi is not tricky. You know, this is a big man. Now, I told you, have asked me a very interesting
question. Peter, I hear you. Okay.
I said I didn't want to be associated with the current regime right from onset. I would not have announced that I was part of it. I am part of it until 2027 when we go for election. But the truth be told, in chemistry, there is when you're making a chemical, process and you want to produce a certain drug, there are percentages that are considered that they do not interfere with the main element of every drug. For example, Panadol. I'm not marketing Panadol. Let me say paracetamol. There is a reason where you consider the percentages of different elements. Now, when you change the percentages, for example, when I say there was slowdown in last year and slowdown this year, which was caused by the disruptions and distractions, remember when they were introduced people from different political ideology, as in Kenya, and now they joined KWANZA, I looked at the percentages which was introduced, and that percent of the cabinet from the other side is not a small percentage. I wish it was only less than 10%, destruction would not have occurred. But 30% of new element must bring some meaningful change or disruption. So for me to say that As Kenya Kwanza, we have performed like this one. It is not as we wished. We would be far today in terms of the number of houses, in terms of healthcare, in terms of road infrastructure, because we are the ones who pronounced ourselves that we are going to stop abductions. So when you see some things that are happening now, even 1 year after broad-based government, formation of broad-based government, then it tells you probably the disruption and the fact that we are not on the lane that we were initially could have been as a result of the 30%. I stand to be corrected, and that's my opinion.
That is
my observation.
I stand to correct you that, but with questions. So you say
Kindly ask questions.
the quote unquote the experts cause disruptions and the slowdown on everything that you're seeing the government, according to you.
It is natural, and for lack of a better word, it's common sense. You have a home, don't you? Mm-hmm. If I came with my 3 children to your home, will there be no disruption? Even if we are coming to eat reg, just under normal circumstances. So we have invited us, my family 3, we have a family of 10 children. You have a family of 3 children.
What
will
have
there
they
be no
to slow down the construction of the 250,000 houses per year?
The disruption is natural. That people have to agree.
Yeah.
People are marrying different ideologies. By the time they come now with one focus, one agenda, united and pulling the same direction. And remember, I had my friend, the guy in charge of on my Daniel,
yes,
that he disagreed with me. It was not necessary to disagree with me, but to give his different opinion. The thing is, regimes are formed by different people, and they are formed by people with certain political ideologies. So you cannot separate Kenya Kwanza and the ideologies that we had and the president and say,
has it changed? Has it changed?
And tell us.
Has it changed?
And tell us.
No, has it changed? The
What
ideologies? The ideologies has it changed?
No, we have invited people. I don't know what they are. Whether if there's something that is called, maybe you don't know. Let me bring you to speed. We have a broad-based government.
Yes.
So when we have a broad-based government, then it negates the original idea of Kenya Kwanza government and Kenya Kwanza regime. So this one, at the end of the day, it's not going to be Kenya Kwanza. It is going to be broad-based government.
Okay. I think it's also fair to bring in Mwalimu. Mwalimu, good morning once again.
Good morning.
You've not disrupted anything. You've not disrupted anything. Let's just do it the way we know. Again, we're still talking about the issue of human rights. We'll come back to education later on. All of us are feeling the pinch in one way or another. But talk about human rights, which is a part of our discussion here. Where are we when it comes to the respect to human rights? I know, again, as I said, we are doing way better than other countries across the globe. But we still have got so many dotted ends to fix.
Thank you so much for allowing me to join this debate at this particular time. I think when you talk about human rights, you cannot talk about it that we are doing better than any other, because it means that when you butcher each other, when people are killed, and when the police shoot citizens, and it is not in the magnitude that it occurs elsewhere, then you cannot say, you can just say that our indicators as that we are not performing very well, but not to compare it with what happens in another home.
I stand guided.
In my understanding, in terms of human rights, we are not doing so well. We are not doing so well in the sense that institutions which are supposed to safeguard the rights of citizens, where citizens can feel secure, have become the institutions which undermine or compromise the quality of the rights that we are supposed to enjoy, especially the right to life and the right to enjoy certain rights which are basically process-based. Like, for example, if we are demonstrating in the streets,
Yes.
and we are peaceful, there's no need for the police, whose work is supposed to safeguard my interests and to cover me during the period, turns out to be the enemy on the street. So that one is an indicator that we are not doing so well when it comes to rights. At the same time, when it comes to politics itself, the politicians have positioned themselves to the extent that they seem not to understand what they are supposed to be safeguarding. For example, when you talk about a member of parliament talks in a public rally and says that you should have done it this way, you should have shot to kill. That is a public a person who is supposed to legislate on how my rights are supposed to be protected. That person goes to a public rally and makes such a pronouncement. It means that it is there in word, but in practice we are doing things which are not in conformity with what we classified as enjoyment of rights. For example, when you are expected to, a person has been arrested by police,
yes,
and it is known that this police officer is the one who was arrested, then the person ends up maimed in the police cell or dies in the hands of the police. Then it means that we have gone so low such that the rights that we are supposed to have enjoyed are not there. However, on this space where I am enjoying my rights to go my own business, it has been allowed. I think we are living in an era where we have got the right to say anything about anybody. In fact, in that, we have even gone to excess as citizens, that we don't even safeguard the right of others of even privacy, the right of others also to enjoy their cool as leaders, because we find that we have misused the platform of social media to the extent that it is being abused. Instead of being used to do better things for our human development, we instead create acrimony and all the like.
Okay.
So in that case, I think the right issue will still be open for wider debate.
All right. Yeah. Open to wider debate. Philomena, you've heard what he said, because again, we can go overboard.
Oh, yeah.
When the freedom is there, we tend to abuse it so much. But then again, that also calls for the relevant bodies to keep checks and balances on wananchi, because, you know, the Constitution, again, is quite open for all of us. But who is supposed to take care of that Constitution? You and I. That calls for the aspect of the civic duty. Do people really understand what the Constitution is all about and the limits of the freedom when it comes to human rights?
To a very large extent, people are more aware about their freedoms and rights more than maybe it was initially. However, I feel like we still have a lot of civic education to offer to the Kenyans, because as it has been mentioned, I should not enjoy my right so much that I start infringing on yours. In putting the political class on accountability, we should not infringe their privacy. Yes, they also have that right, because we are all enjoying these rights. They have rights to privacy, and we should not infringe on those. You have seen the extent to which quote-unquote enjoyment of rights has been pushed, such that you'll find Kenyans on social media celebrating when death has befallen the politician's family, especially very close losses to them, like their children and all that. It turns to be a fanfare or a celebration. I think we should, there's something that we are always told: anytime you react emotionally to something, especially in anger, you're more likely than not to create a bigger problem. Every time we want to enjoy our freedoms of putting the government on its toes, and we put therein a lot of rage, a lot of anger, then we somewhat, to some degree, will miss the point. So I feel like it's a conversation that needs to continue on issues to do with enjoyment of rights and freedoms. And the Kenyan Constitution is in very plain English language. It's something that can be understood and explained to so many people in very different levels. At school, I remember when I was in primary school, I started picking interest in civic. At that time, we were doing GHC, so there was the geography, there was the history, and there was the civic. I started picking a very serious interest in civic, understanding about how the country is structured and all that, and understanding my rights, not understanding, just being able to memorize them, because it's with time that I've been able to understand.
Yeah.
So I think that it's a conversation that needs to continue, because there are people who are also in high levels of governance or something, and they don't seem to understand where their freedoms end. Because when you stand and you have the social responsibility to influence a group or the country, and you make proclamations like they should have been killed, the police are not doing enough,
Yeah.
It is very worrisome.
But then that goes back to the judiciary. Has judiciary... Exactly, go ahead.
Yeah, has judiciary
come to the line when it's come to human rights, the protection of human rights? How have you performed?
I feel like we are trying, because there are relevant bodies within that arm of the government that are able to pick the issues of abuse of human rights and prosecute them in court, or rather raise alarm on how some issues are being handled and how they are being tackled.
I want to come to Daniel. Randomly, looking back, what can you say that this government has achieved, the hit and misses? In your own way. But the most important one, I'll come back to education.
Good.
Yeah.
In my own way, I think the government, the Ruto administration has done well in terms of housing. Housing, the affordable housing, of course, was controversial when he promised it. And also, it was also in the Azimio manifesto.
Yeah.
And so, for him to have been able to convince Kenyans to buy into it, because the leader, one of the most important values of a leader is you need to convince the people to believe in your manifesto. So by President Ruto convincing Kenyans to chip in the housing policy, of course I've seen people who are against it, but then the fact that the housing, affordable housing is going on, I think that is going to be one of his most important legacies. This president has also, of course, when he came in, of course, the price of unga was very high, but he has been able to stabilize the price of unga. The price of unga actually came down. I don't know how much it is right now in this moment, but it actually came down to the level that it was predicted. Also, when he came in, we had fuel was actually very, very high, and he was able to actually stabilize that. Inflation was high, and of course, remember when the deputy president was talking during inauguration, he said there was no money. He said there was no money in the coffers, and of course, he also inherited a lot of debts from the previous administration. A lot of debts from SGR, from what. So actually, if you talk to the people in the administration, they're saying the government was in red. There's some people who said that they didn't expect the government to last another 6 hours. I heard it's being said 6 months. But this president has been able to actually stabilize the economy, and so Kenya is still a going concern as a result of what he has been able to do. So, and also as I told you earlier on, the fact that he has risen above political entities and has been able to bring even the opposition, into government, to feel like they're part of government. So in terms of national unity, I think he has scored big. And for those who complain that the broad-based government came in, for me, I'd really want to, because if this president was left alone with the Kenya Kwanza, right now, with what you see the deputy president doing, right now the president would probably have been impeached because then Kenya Kwanza itself, within itself, it had issues. So by him, reaching out, to the other side and bring them into his government, so he has been able to balance. So right now, you cannot impeach him. He's able to manage.
He enjoys some full protection.
And it's a good, it's a political skill that this president have.
All right.
And it will serve him very well as he goes into the next election.
Mwalimu, in your own perspective, where are we 3 years on?
We are still at crossroads because there are so many things which have not been fixed, in my view. But I think where we are stabilizing because already people are now talking to each other. We are not talking at each other. In politics, the political environment is still very murky. But given the operating environment as it is, I think this government has done its best under the circumstances. For example, like me, although you have asked me to come later to discuss education, but that is the area you can handle it where I enjoy a lot.
Yes.
For the first time in the history of this country, within 3 years, we have had the employment of over 80,000 teachers within 3 years. That is unprecedented. It has never happened. We have had occasions where teachers, when they were employed, I think what was only 2011, during Kibaki's administration, where we had to go on strike for those who had been engaged on contract, 18,060 to be engaged. And now, subsequent years followed, and we were only getting a maximum of 5,000 teachers being employed, both primary and secondary school.
80,000 employed on what terms? PNP?
On permanent and pensionable.
Okay.
In fact, now we are waiting. There's a group which is waiting to be formalized on permanent and pensionable, which is about 20,000. And there's also another promise of another 24,000 who are on the waiting. That one was in the wish list, that out of the 116,000 that they promised to employ within 3 years, already we have had 80,000. That is something which is laudable. In the same education, we have also had issues related to capitation to schools, reduction of money which is being capitated to schools. But on employment, it is there. On the other issue, we as teachers, we still find that we are not very comfortable, because as much as the tax has been increased, our pay continue to be low. So you can still find that we have got a disquiet in the education sector. But another issue which is not very stable is how we are managing the transition from the old system to the current system. That we had chosen the path of developing pathways in senior school, which is coming next year. But the preparation bit of it in grade 7, grade 8, and grade 9 has been very haphazard. The foundation is not very well grounded on quality, and therefore that is an area which is there for another conversation. That policy need to be developed so that we have got a very smooth transition, and therefore we now don't count on numbers and so on. But remember, when the government has also continued to listen to the public, and especially to the public outcry, especially on when there was the funding model on university education, was very controversial. The president and the administration came up with another solution where they decreased this university fee between 15 and 40%. That means that now there's room for those who are discontinued from going to college and finishing the education to go back and maybe find a leverage. So with me, I think there has been a lot. And as my brother said, although it is a concept which so many people are disputing, but for us who have traveled far and wide, the greatest thought that this country is developing is this housing thing. Housing. It is what will ease the burden of the farmland, because we are likely to start thinking about living in urban centers and giving room for space for people to grow crops to eat. Yeah. So that is something which is good. Another thing, when I go home, for the first time in the history of my life, a power line has passed just next to my house and I've connected it to my house. So I have electricity.
How are you surviving all those years?
That's what I wanted to announce to you. Imagine a general secretary of Kupet is surviving on Nyangile thing.
Nyangile is that tin lamp.
And now I'm connected to the grid.
Yes.
That means that this government is not doing very badly. But also besides that, yeah, Pure Wanda has done magic. So when my brother is saying that we are causing disruption, you can see how that disruption has really benefited. And there's a road which has also passed just next to my house and connecting the tarmac road to Kisumu and my home. That is disruption, which is very positive. So I think
you need to take back your word.
It is.
He saved us all.
The disruption is beneficial.
But
It is beneficial.
he said positive disruption. So he's agreeing that my argument is right, but he's putting some more sense by saying positive. When something is positive, you don't take it back.
Very good.
Yes, of course.
Take it away. What's your submission?
There are so many things that have happened in this nation, and some have not happened. But the most important that I keep on enjoying is freedom of expression. I've been this station a number of times.
Yes.
I've been given freedom to speak as I wish. I've listened in the streets of this city. One thing that will be remembered that this regime achieved is allowing people to express themselves. However, to some extent, it became abusive. But remember, the President of the Republic of Kenya, Dr. William Ruto, behaved as a father, even when he was insulted. We've never had in any history of this country or anywhere in Africa, a president concedes under the pressure of the agencies. Because when he went to State House, the word that he used, I concede, a president conceding. So this one tells you that the freedom of expression in this nation has grown to levels that have never been seen before. Other things may not work. The housing may not be sufficient. We may not have all the people having the privilege of being connected to the grid like him. And we may not have all the people in this nation having the privilege of having good roads. But the most important is the freedom of expression, because from freedom of expression, you will gather the expressions, and it's from those expressions that will inform policies.
Yes. Let me interject into that.
Go ahead.
The freedom that he's talking about was actually ushered in during the Kibaki regime. You remember during the Moi regime, we didn't have so much freedom to do what we want. But when the Kibaki regime came in and the new constitution was ushered in, then Kenya was free. Kenya was free to speak. There was an unprecedented civil liberty, that was ushered in at that time. And this freedom has been, even during the Uhuru regime, during the Uhuru administration. We could see even when this president was the deputy president, he had freedom to campaign and oppose President Uhuru, and nothing happened to him. So this freedom that he's talking about, of course, it is, I don't want to say that this government has allowed us. No, freedoms are God-given. These are God-given rights. Freedom of speech, these are God-given rights. Government does not give you freedoms. Government's work is to to entrench those freedoms, to ensure that the citizens allow those God-given freedoms.
Yeah.
So when you give a government, even you make a government think that it can allow you, it doesn't give you freedom. These are God-given rights. So the citizens just need to take those rights and exercise them. So I congratulate, of course, the president for continuing to appreciate that this is a constitutional democracy and that we have these God-given freedoms and that power belongs to the people. And that he is leading on behalf of the people. And I agree with him when he says that this president, of course, conceded. Why did he concede? Because this president is the president who listens to the people. If it was another president, most likely the cabinet would not have been, the cabinet would not have gone. But this president listened and he said, I'm listening to you. He called them. Come, let us talk. So one of the achievements of this president, one of the values that I love about this president is that he is able to listen. He's able to, he's able to basically strike a win-win and also reach towards the other side.
Yes.
So I needed to talk about that.
Just a little bit. We have a constitution in this nation, and the constitution says that Kenya is a secular state. And in that constitution, chapter 4, it stipulates the rights, and under the rights is freedom of expression. So when I meant we are about the scorecard of this government. So I'm saying at the end of this regime, 2027, what remains important is that freedom that we were allowed by the head of state to express ourselves, and more so, even come to KBC, it was an add-off. That KBC, a state-owned station, that Missouri would have spoken the way he spoke initially, and everybody here spoke the way they spoke with freedom. And this one, we cannot look, the scorecard is not between 2010 and now. It is between 2022 and now. And the president has done good to give us,
Okay.
The scorecard is about what? It's this regime.
So does it mean that we didn't have that freedom?
We never. At that
3 years ago?
No, we did.
We can argue for 1,000 years. And the point is, we've never had, unless we had taken some break, we've never had in this nation, children, let me put that in quotes. Forgive me if you feel offended by addressing as children, wherever you are, calling a president a certain name. And going to the extent, because they have some evil genius of drawing people and putting them in a casket, and we moved on as if nothing had happened. There were no arrests as a result of that. There were you see.
Wakili is here.
No, Wakili, give time Wakili.
No.
Unless you are an advocate, let me finish my submission.
You want to tell me that no arrests were made because of that? Some are important.
There were arrests,
including yesterday,
but not connected to the freedom of expression of that magnitude. The Wakili will defend that. It's my opinion. And I'm entitled to my opinion.
It's fine. It's fine. We are also entitled to challenge you.
But I think there's something which my friend must also listen to, is that you don't bring your opinion even on issues of facts. Because if he's interpreting the facts, then that is a different thing. Then he should just say that we should not be involved in this discussion together. What I
it's
felt,
okay, over to you.
What I felt should be included in this scorecard is the ineffectiveness of our other institutions, like one of them being parliament, because parliamentarians are state officers. But you can see at some stage the parliament itself and
now that goes to governance now.
Yeah, the president have talked at cross purpose to the extent that we have seen that something was amiss. And that one now introduces to us that during this period, in the last 3 years, we have seen uncontrolled corruption in government. So that one is a rotten egg in the face of this government that it has to deal with on a serious note. Because the main institution of parliament has been attacked for being corrupt, and they have also passed the same baton to the president that if you are corrupt, then who is more corrupt? So that is something which we have to deal with. But it also goes ahead to explain the level of freedoms and liberties that we also enjoy in this country.
Yeah.
That at least there are certain times when now we can talk about corruption, even in State House. That the State House can single-handedly pinpoint at KBC that KBC, you have to sit properly. So that is something which is very positive.
I agree with that.
Yes.
Katata want to say something. She's
Yes.
really willing to speak.
Yes. Please allow me to weigh in on the issue of the freedoms. In my understanding, because we've been cautioned not to give opinions in matters facts, in my understanding, the freedoms that we now enjoy or abuse were the very freedoms that our forefathers fought for. Because as we look at the history of our country, we have moved in different spaces of enjoyment of rights.
Yes.
And we can always credit first the forefathers who came and fought and shed their blood for the freedoms we enjoy now. It is for us now to, on the question of what the young generation has been seen to do, the use of certain names that does not promote a very good space to, Yani, you understand what I'm saying? The use of those names that they've been using. Around that time of the protest, I sat and thought, no one actually knows what it means to be the president, because no one has been put in a position that he was in at the time. And around this time when we are doing this scorecard for the administration, it's a good moment for us to also speak to the Kenyans so that they can be receptive to see some of the wins with the government. Because when you have an option to look at a positive thing or negative and you choose to look at the negative, you will not give credit for the good things. So if we can be very open-minded to laud the government for the positive wins and to continue keeping them on toes, for example, on issues corruption, then we will be able to move well. And also, I take this opportunity to also talk to the political class who sometimes throw in some very ethnic, divisive sentiments out there. They're in positions where they're able to influence social relations and how people think and act. That is not what we need as a country.
Okay.
Moving forward, let us not go into those very polarized political spaces, because they won't do us.
They won't do us any justice. Okay. I want to treat that as your closing remark. Moving forward, you started it.
Yes.
Daniel, moving forward.
Just a second, please. Allow me, please, to condole with the family of my senior, Chalo Mbombo. It was a very unfortunate incident. I think it sent shockwaves around the country. Again, security issues it's one thing. Yes, so
we leave it to the security officers and, of course, to investigate that issue.
Yes,
it was quite unfortunate yesterday.
Yes, absolutely.
Our Kili with so many years of experience in the legal fraternity.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right,
Thank you.
Daniel, moving forward.
So moving forward, I once again want to congratulate this administration for the 3 years. It hasn't been easy. We saw, of course, with the disruption that you spoke about, especially last year during the Gen Z uprising. The president, in his wisdom, managed it very well. Of course, we had people dying, and and I'm sure that I'm aware that this president has also taken action, also to be able to compensate those who were killed, not just during these demonstrations last year, but also during even the previous regimes.
Yes.
So this is a president who knows. He has accepted that sometimes government has been overreaching, but and again, the fact that he has put in place a commission to ensure that those who suffered all those abuses by police are compensated, I think is a good thing. So moving forward, the president should know that he has been elected there, and he's there to serve the people. And he is the utmost defender of civil liberty. So let him continue, protecting the civil liberty, which are basically the freedoms that are given and rights that protect, Kenyans.
Thank you.
And I think as he does that, I think Kenyans will make a decision whether, they want to renew his contract or not at the end of this current term. Thank you.
Asante. I'll come back to you, Mwalimu, shortly. There's this question of there's some reprieve for teachers after the court said scrapping of the hardship allowance to be put on hold a bit. That's some good news to teachers. Hardship allowance.
The hardship allowance was not supposed even to be touched.
Yeah.
Because it was a function of a court judgment and a consent in that matter. Because in our collective bargaining agreement, we have always had what we call ring fencing the gains that we have had in the past.
Okay.
So whoever was going to touch it had to go to court to undo what had been agreed upon by the parties.
Moving forward?
Moving forward,
yes.
In my view, I think this is high time. So many people are against a proposal that the Diane of opposition and the former Prime Minister had indicated. We need to engage in constant dialogue because this current generation we call Gen Zs and Millennials, these are people who are born at a time when this constitution was just being crafted, and therefore their interests may have not been taken into account in terms of their developmental stage in life. We did not know that time that AI was going to be a function of our space, but now it is with us here.
Thank you.
And we did not know that we are going to have these things like WhatsApp and so on. We already now have them.
Okay.
And therefore the country needs to engage in a national conversation, which is intergenerational, so that we can assimilate the old ideas and the new ideas, so that people move together.
Thank you.
And then lastly, it is on the basis of the president being frank and bold, not to fear to undertake programs which will take this country to the next level.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Okay. Will you just take 30 seconds? Because we've taken 3 minutes, which is quite illegal.
Our president,
and we talked about illegality and freedoms.
Our president, having learned from diverse organization and is now a champion of diversity, that he learned the first 2 years of Kenya Kwanza and the second year of broad-based, we can only give him better understanding and approaches to finish strong. And I wish that this regime finishes strong, because we have shown the world that we can manage diversity.
Very good. He will. The president will. I mean, there's no doubt about it. The instruments of power is here, the constitution is here, and he has that mandate to finish strong. All right, Peter Mutuku, asante sana. You said Nairobi is not tricky.
Peter Mutua.
Thank you. Nairobi is not tricky. Nairobi is okay.
First of all, it's Peter Mutuku Mutua.
Nairobi is not tricky.
I am not Peter Mutua Mutuku. I'm Peter Mutuku Mutua. Nairobi is a
He's the governance and leadership expert. A very difficult man to handle, but I know how to handle him. Thank you so much.
Dignity and hope.
Akilo Misoro, who is the Secretary General of Kupet, and Daniel Omondi, or Juma Omondi, who is the Global Africa Regional Representative of Global Peace Foundation, and Philomena Gatacha, who is advocate of the High Court. We've just taken a brief on what the Kenya Kwanza administration has been 3 years since taking over power in this country, and we'll continue this sometimes next week. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Victor Lo. Good morning. Bye-bye.